Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of advice related to social media and some of the issues that our students and our children face with using social media in our digital age. So, as we know, technology and social media specifically can be powerful forces for learning and connecting and really keeping us all interacting with each other. However, there are definitely some dangers and risks to know and ways that you can safeguard yourself from some of these risks. So, our goal for today is to focus on at least three issues that I'm going to go over those three here in a second related to social media usage at the elementary, upper elementary, middle school, and high school age range. And then we're going to identify some best practices that you can use to protect your student, protect your children when they're using different tools online. So, the big three issues that we're specifically going to focus on are privacy, digital footprints, and then cyberbullying. So, the first major issue I want to talk about today is privacy and oversharing. So, as we know, social media has gotten more popular and it's very enticing to use to talk about our life, share things about what we're doing every single day, and post pictures of ourselves. And it's really popular amongst the younger age range and demographics. However, as students are sharing things online, sometimes it's a little bit murkier for them on what they should share and maybe what information they should keep private. It can be dangerous if they're sharing lots of personally identifiable information, which sometimes you'll see referred to as PII. That information can be accessible by lots of people out there depending on their privacy settings on their social media apps. And it could put them in danger of having their identity stolen, being at risk for bullying, and even worse. So, just to show you some statistics related to this, 95% of teens are online using social networking apps or sites. And that's specifically from a study done by Pew Research Group in 2018, which I have linked there. And of those teens, 91% of teens stated that they post videos and photos of themselves online. Specifically, photos tended to be more popular. That was the 91%, and about 17% also said they posted videos. 91% post their real name online, their full name. 82% post their birthday. 71% post their town and the school that they attend. Another 53% post their email address, and about 20% post their cell phone number. And that's from a 2013 Pew Research study. Now, why am I showing you these statistics? Those are a little bit of alarming pieces of information because any collection and gathering of those pieces of information could put your child at risk of having their passwords compromised, their identity stolen, and some of those other pieces of information that you don't necessarily want anyone on the internet to have. A lot of these different elements actually fall into that area of internet privacy and security, of personally identifiable information that you typically don't want to have out there available for anyone to see. Another statistic here is that 75% of tweens and teens also friend people who they know in the real world. So that's a majority of students and children are interacting with people that they personally know. But there are a large number of them that engage with strangers online, maybe through fake Instagram accounts or fake social media accounts. They're interacting with people they don't personally know. So that's from a study from the McAfee Security Group Teens and Screen Study in 2014. So you're probably wondering, okay, these are kind of some scary statistics. What am I to do in this situation? The most helpful thing you can do for starters is reviewing the different social media accounts your child has. Maybe making a spreadsheet and you and your student can work on it together and go through the different apps that they're using. Double check that they're using age appropriate apps. There's about 80,000 apps out there in the Google Play Store and also in the Apple Play Store. And some of them are labeled as being for kids, but not all of them actually are. Many of them require that the users have to be of a certain age, 16 and above, 18 and above, and they don't actually vet their users to see if all of them are following from that age group restriction. So it's helpful if you go through and review those yourselves. And there's a link I have on here to the COPA guidelines, which states that students have to be of a certain age to have their personal information made available and used by these different apps. So if you're curious about that, I have that linked. It'd also be helpful if you have some conversations with your student about oversharing and what's appropriate to share. There's a fine line between what to post and what not to post, and going through some activities and exercises with your student on maybe I shouldn't post all of this information about my birthday or my full name and maybe my pets' names, because those would be common things that you could use in passwords and also stuff that maybe not everyone needs to know online. And then consider if you want to take an extra measure of protecting yourself at home. There are a number of providers that give security settings and basically parental controls on devices that are on your home Wi-Fi network, and also some that you can add to your cell phones and any cell phones that your child might be using. So I've linked both resources there that rank top 5 ones for your money, because they aren't necessarily free. You can utilize and how to get started with them. If you wanted to take this a step further, I've also compiled a privacy checkup activity that you can go and use with your child. This is a Google Doc, and it's kind of like a game board to a sense that you complete these different steps and it allows you to think about your privacy in these different contexts. So this is not inclusive of every single social media app that might be out there, but these are definitely some common ones that your students are interacting with regularly. It goes from Google security settings, which your students are using that on their browsers, on their phone, on their devices, to also ones specific to social media like Facebook and Snapchat and YouTube. So the ones that I have on here, they give you a brief overview of security. So this might be a good one for your student to go through with you when you watch it together. This talks about Chrome Sync and also warns about cookies, that little button you usually have to press whenever you go to a website, and what that means. And there's also some specifics here that tell you where to go to check your Facebook privacy settings if your child has a Facebook account, where to go for your Google privacy checkup. And I'll just click right here so you can see. And it would have you sign in. Other options here tell you a resource that you can go to see if your information's been compromised, which is really helpful as well. Here's a Snapchat privacy checkup as well. So if your child is using that app, which is very popular amongst teens, how you can lock down their account so they can still use it, but use it safely. All right, and here's a tutorial, not necessarily a tutorial, but a step-by-step guide on how you can do that. And the last two that are on here, listening to a couple of stories where it talks about how it's important to have your Snapchat account very secure. And then the last ones here are just for protecting your login information. So you can start anywhere on this game board. It's more helpful if you start up here in the top left corner and go around, and then you can fill in these different spaces as you go through them with your child. So this can be something that you do together, or maybe you have your child do on their own and then you check up with them afterwards. That can be a really helpful option for getting your child thinking about the importance of security and locking down their account. So there's less likelihood that their personal information's out there and they're oversharing. So along those same lines, another issue that's pretty common in terms of social media usage is the concept of digital footprints and making sure that you manage your digital footprint appropriately. This kind of connects with the privacy issue I was just talking about, but your digital footprint is basically a trail that you leave online from the websites you interact with, the cookies that you allow websites to keep and track on you, anything you post, comment, like, all of those things make up your digital footprint. And it follows you everywhere. So beyond your time using the internet that day, it's still out there for others to look up and see. There's passive digital footprints and there's active digital footprints. Active is mainly the ones where you are posting and you have a little bit more control over that. Passive digital footprints, or maybe if you're using a search browser or you're using an app and it's geocaching and locating where you are, which is a little bit more behind the scenes, maybe some things you don't know that you're posting. So ideally, you only want to post things that promote a positive digital footprint because it does affect you in the future. So to give you some statistics here, 70% of employers in a 2017 study from Career Builder noted that they use social media to screen candidates during a hiring process. And what did they use? They looked up people's social media profiles, which made up their digital footprint, and used that to determine who made it to the next round of interviews and who didn't. It also affects college admissions as well. About 40% of college admissions officers in a Kaplan study in 2017 stated that they actively use social media and researching students' social media accounts to make enrollment decisions. So it's not just something that we're kind of using as a scare tactic and saying that it's out there. It's something that's important, and it can be something you could control and you can help your child control. So helpful things, and maybe a short phrase or acronym that you can use to help your child remember this, is to think and tell them, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And if they can answer yes to all of those, then it's probably okay to post it. If not, then maybe they shouldn't post it. If you're curious about some additional digital footprint pieces of advice, you can again review the privacy settings that I just talked about earlier on the privacy and oversharing and social media part, just so you can lock down your social media profiles and make sure that there's not anything out there that you don't want, such as even making sure that whenever someone posts a picture of you or your child, that you have to review it before it shows up on your profile, so that there's not pictures out there that you don't want associated with your profile and for anyone to find. In addition, there's some 4 tips here that GoGuardian, which is a web filtering provider, what they've put together to help parents and students manage digital footprints. And it ranges anywhere from putting some filters on your profile to carefully locking down your account so that other people can't access them or post things without your permission. A fun way to help your child learn about digital footprint, its importance, and why it's a really good idea to manage it and to give them some scary but also relevant real life examples is this game. So, if you wanted your student to have a little bit more of an interactive experience in learning this and something you can play together in a fun way, there's a website called Digital Compass. And it's provided by Common Sense Media. And what it allows you to do is to go through some fun, different scenarios. It's a game online, and it's available in English and Spanish. And there's one specifically in this game that focuses on digital footprint and digital safety, which is when you select the character Wink, which is this one here in the Y. And what it does is it goes through a couple of scenarios where Wink is trying to get into college and she wants to win a prize and a scholarship. And she posts some things that probably aren't the best. And she's thinking maybe she should go back and review those. And it's a whole guided process where the student goes through a scenario and considers how they can actively manage their digital footprint in a positive way rather than posting things out there that might do them some harm later on. So that could be a fun interactive piece to support your child in learning what these concepts are and to give you some examples as well. The last topic I want to talk about with you today is the issue of cyberbullying. And this has been the one that's been in the media the most, especially in terms of social media. So cyberbullying is described as hurting someone's feeling using technology. And that ranges from emails to texts, direct messaging, blogging, social media, chat rooms, gaming chat rooms. It's a whole range of issues. There's lots of examples that I have listed here of what this could look like. It could be anything from sending mean messages to spreading rumors, making fake accounts to impersonate someone, threatening someone, taking and sharing photos of someone without their consent, posting photos of someone without their consent, and then messaging someone when they've asked you to stop repeatedly. So there's an even more detailed list that's on Common Sense Media for Parents.org, which I've linked on my last slide in this slide deck. So to give you some statistics about how much of an issue this is, 59% of teens report they have been bullied or harassed online in a Pew Research study from 2018. Girls are 3 times more likely to be victims of cyberbullying. Specifically, girls tend to have more issues where fake rumors are spread about them, fake accounts are made to impersonate them, and they're the recipients of unwanted, explicit messages in relation to boys. And that is from a National Center for Education Statistics study from 2019. And over 50% of students who identify as LGBTQ have reported that they've been bullied and harassed online. So it's an overwhelming number of those students. And this statistic was from stopbullying.gov. 98% of teens, however, identify that this is an issue and feel like that's probably the most pressing issue affecting their demographic. And again, that's from the same Pew Research study. So students are aware this is a problem, but maybe need more tools in their toolbox to help them. And parents can identify some of these signs and warnings and things that they can do to protect their children as well. So if your child is a victim, log off the site or app, block the bully if they continue to message you, save the message and keep a record of some of those different things that were said or exchanged. And then if it's happening between students at school or other peers in the community, talk to your school administrators and counselors so they can help, engage law enforcement if necessary, and also just make sure that you report the account. On a lot of these social media platforms, they have the ability for you to report harassment, and that can actually deactivate the person's account so they can't continue to message you and harass you even more. If you want your student to get some experience in identifying what cyberbullying looks like, as well as some of the other things that I talked about today in terms of privacy and digital footprints, there's a really wonderful website that was created by a bunch of educators and researchers from Stanford, and it's called Social Media Test Drive. And what's awesome about this specific website is it takes students through a series of modules, and there's tips here for educators and some for parents, but these modules allow students to make a social media site, social media account per se, within this test drive platform. And so they are put in these scenarios with their social media account and make decisions based on that. So here are some of the different examples. And here's the specific one on cyberbullying and how to be an upstander if you see cyberbullying taking place. So the student would go through, these are some of the different things that they would be taking part in on this activity. So they make a lot of these different scenarios in this module look like social media sites. Like this one looks like Instagram. And they're constantly adding new ones on here. So there's specific ones that are geared towards parents and for using at home. And you can have your child go through some of these examples. So here's an example of what that could look like. And then up here, the student is prompted through thinking about what they think this is an example of. So they get to see examples of cyberbullying, and they get to decide what to do after that. And it walks them through this whole process. And even walks them through how they can report cyberbullying if they see it on a social media platform. So in this one, it talks about flagging a message and writing a supportive message to the person who's the victim or the target of cyberbullying and being there to support them. And it walks you through all of these different examples. So I won't spend tons of time walking you through the whole module, but those are just some helpful examples. This website specifically test drive modules on how you can integrate some lessons and give your students some applicable immersive experiences and identifying some of these issues in social media, specifically cyberbullying and being an upstander to bullies. Another example of a game that you can use with your child to help them learn some of these digital footprint, privacy, and sharing with care instead of cyberbullying skills and practices online is another game here. This one's from Google. This is totally free as well. This one seems to be targeted for a little bit younger demographics, so maybe middle school and elementary school, but it could still be pretty helpful. This one specifically is a game, and students earn points and prizes for making healthy and safe decisions online. All right, so the student goes into the game, and these are the 4 different focus points for the game. So Cool to Be Kind focuses on some of those issues with cyberbullying and sharing. Another one, Reality River, is really analyzing fake news in depth, which I didn't talk about in this presentation, but is still really helpful. Mindful Mountain, again, focuses on some cyberbullying pieces and elements as well. And then the last piece is the Tower of Treasure, which talks about privacy, security, and making sure that you're designing and managing a healthy digital footprint. So to play the game, you enter it, and then it walks you through some instructions, and you learn some life lessons along it, or presented with different scenarios to demonstrate these concepts. All right, so the student would go through this game, and they're navigating through. They're trying to grab their personal information so it doesn't get stolen by the hackers. So they play this game, and then at the very end, it tells them some different pieces here that are helpful about managing their footprint and keeping things secure. So they play for a little bit, and then they have a break there. They get to have a quiz and check their understanding, and they're presented with new information. There's additional resources that I've linked here because cyberbullying is such a prevalent issue. I wanted to make sure that you had a number of places you could go to find out more information, whether you have a child who's a victim of cyberbullying or you've heard of it taking place. Stopbullying.gov has a whole series of resources that you can utilize, and there's even information there about counselors and therapists local to your region when you put in your zip code that you can contact to get help, maybe if your child needs help as well. There's a whole page on Common Sense Media, and I've referenced Common Sense Media a lot, but it is a nonprofit organization that focuses on giving tips related to digital citizenship for educators, parents, and students. And they have a whole section here for parents focused on cyberbullying. And you can sort it by your child's age, most popular topics, and additional lessons and activities you can use here. And there's even one specific to new social media apps that are emerging and becoming popular. There's another one here on social media as well. So those are my main points that I wanted to talk about today: privacy, digital footprint, and cyberbullying, and give you some resources. If you have any additional questions, please let me know.